Justin Trudeau's political future hangs in the balance as Canadians head to the polls today. About 27 million people are eligible to vote in the parliamentary elections, which Prime Minister Trudeau called 2 years early. A CBC News poll released before the election showed Trudeau's Liberal Party with a less than 1 percentage point lead over Erin O'Toole's Conservatives. Jagmeet Singh may prove to be the kingmaker, though, his left-wing New Democratic Party polling at 20%. The Liberals currently are the ruling minority. The Prime Minister is hoping to pick up at least 170 seats in the 338-seat House of Commons to allow him to rule without a coalition. The first polls opened last night. The last polls close on the West Coast at midday, Australian time. Special mail-in votes won't be tallied until late tonight, meaning we may not know for a while whether Justin Trudeau can continue his near 6-year rule or whether Erin O'Toole will be Canada's 24th Prime Minister. Well, joining us live now is Darrell Bricker. He's the CEO of Ipsos, Canada Public Affairs. Darrell, good to see you. Thanks for your time. So what do you know so far?
The Minister thought he was going to be a shoo-in for winning a majority government, a very fast election campaign of 36 days, and right out of the blocks he fell flat on his face, and mainly because Canadians were saying, we don't want to have an election during this pandemic. And normally when elections are called and why elections are called, people quickly forget about it, but not this time around.
Okay, we just lost the top of that, Darrell, so are you able to say whether or not it looks like he's going to be able to hold on yet, or is it too early?
Well, I think he's in a good position to hold on to a minority government,
right,
but the majority that he was going for, definitely difficult.
So it may well backfire, is what you're saying, that decision to go early.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. So what kind of voting patterns can you say are emerging so far?
Well, what we're seeing in Canada is voting is pretty regional. So the Prime Minister and his Liberal Party tends to do well in Ontario through to the East Coast, whereas Erin O'Toole and the Conservative Party tends to do better as you go west. The real question is how Ontario, which is our largest province, our largest state here in Canada, how they're going to vote this time, and it's pretty close. And it is the difference between this election and the election that we held back in 2019.
Okay, well, that's what I was going to ask you next, actually, is what differences have emerged or what sort of differences are you seeing this time when compared to the previous elections that Trudeau was able to pick up? I mean, is his support on the wane?
Yeah, his support is definitely on the wane, but not necessarily to Erin O'Toole, the leader of the Conservative Party. Where the Liberals have been losing more support is actually to Jagmeet Singh and his New Democrats, the Socialist Party. So they've been attacking him quite effectively on his progressive agenda, which they feel that he hasn't delivered on. And that's where we've really seen bruises in terms of Justin Trudeau's reputation in this campaign.
Yeah, well, I was going to talk to you about that too, the scandals that Trudeau has been involved in. How much of an impact could they well have?
Well, in 2015, Justin Trudeau could do no wrong. People loved him. By the time we rolled around to 2019 and some of those scandals that some of your listeners and viewers may be familiar with started to kick in, people were disappointed with him. Now, in 2021, there's a lot of anger among opposition voters towards him, which is making it difficult for him to form the majority government that he was going after. So he'll probably be reduced to another minority, maybe even a smaller minority than he has now.
What about health? I mean, COVID is basically deciding elections everywhere. Is that expected to be the contributing factor this time around? And bearing in mind, too, that Canada has one of the highest vaccination percentages out of anywhere in the world.
Well, it is interesting that we've had that success, and the public gives the government, the Trudeau government, a lot of kudos for doing that. But it's not affecting how they feel about whether or not they should be voting for the Trudeau Liberals. The way that this election was called and when it was called, the cynicism that the public perceives to be around it has really detached the Liberal Party from their record of success.
Okay, Darrell Bricker, the CEO of Ipsos, Canada Public Affairs. Appreciate your time, Darrell. Talk to you soon.
Thank you.